Welcome to, of course, Morning Vibe. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's, of course, a lovely morning. It's cold, but we're here to make your morning amazing, better, good, give you the great vibes that, of course, we usually do right here on Morning Vibe. My name is Remmy Majala, and on Tuesdays, we usually focus on health and wellness, and today is Wellness Wave. Right, so, of course, I always like to put you on to good things, and the 21st edition of the 21st Stanchart Marathon is beginning on the 27th of October on the Southern Bypass Road. That is starting from Uhuru Garden, and it's an activity that involves raising funds for the good of, the people, the equality, the economy, and the integration, of course, of our new generation, right? So it will involve, of course, families, companies, sports clubs, and the like, and you can get more information on the same at the Secretariat at nairobimarathon.com. So that's what you need to know for now. 21st edition of the Stanchart Marathon, and it will begin on the 27th of October on the Southern Bypass Road from Uhuru Gardens. Well, there you go. Like I mentioned, that is what's happening. That's something that you should, of course, consider doing. And today we're speaking about the quality of your breath, basically nasal breathing versus mouth breathing. And our guest today is Dr. Ian Macharia, ENT head and neck surgeon, sleep medicine specialist. Thank you so much for coming in, Dr. Ian. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you very much.
And of course, our question of the day, we are asking you, do you usually breathe through your nose or mouth? And have you noticed a difference in how it affects your energy levels or health? Do you usually breathe through your nose or mouth? And have you noticed a difference in how it affects your energy levels or health? Our social media handles are right there on your screen. That is Facebook at K24 TV, on X at K24 TV, and of course our WhatsApp line is right there on your screens. So Dr. Ian, does it matter whether you're breathing through your nose or your mouth?
Okay, first of all, one thing that we need to know, there's a term that we call functional nasal breathing. How should you be breathing? You should be breathing with your mouth closed, the tongue should be at the roof of your mouth and through your nose. That's functional nasal breathing. Okay. And the reason it's so important is that
most natural
That's the most natural way. And that's how we are all born. And the crazy thing is that we've been taught oxygen is oxygen. It doesn't matter, but it does matter. And our body treats oxygen that is breathed, air that is breathed through your nose differently than what is breathed through your mouth. So then the first question is usually, what does the nose do for all this air? And the work of the nose, there are many things that it does, but functionally, there's three things. Number one, it humidifies air. So air is dry, and it brings it up to 90 to 95% humidification. That's because it's a complex structure and all that stuff, and it has a complex structure of arteries, veins, lymphatics, capillaries. So it warms up the air. Okay. Number two, it warms up the air to about 30 to 34 degrees. So our lungs don't like cold, dry air. So number one, humidification. Number two, it warms it up. And then number three, it filters all these germs, all these bugs and all that stuff. How does it do that? It has, number one, it has like small hairs. The hairs that we see
on your nose, yes.
Yeah, inside the nose. Yeah. Those filter out particles up to about 5 micrometers, so very small particles. Number two, we have like a blanket of cilia inside the nose. So it's like a small forest of hair-like structures that beat backwards and that trap very minute particles.
I see.
And then number three, you have mucus. And the mucus is actually charged electronically. So it actually attracts the opposite charge. So your mucus is charged positively, so it will attract negative particles and trap them. It's fascinating. the stuff that goes on inside your nose.
You don't even notice. You're just walking around there, you know, and you don't know all these things are working out in your, you know, your nose.
Exactly. So we've been given these two amazing structures, a right side and a left side. And that's what you should be using. And the crazy thing is that we have moved to somewhere in our life where open mouth breathing is so common that we don't even identify the consequences or even know what they are. So we are living with all sorts of dentists are complaining, neurologists are saying there's so much headache, guys are pulling out wisdom teeth, and there's a whole range of consequences.
Like earlier than they actually should because of breathing through the mouth. Because
of open mouth breathing, yes.
Right. Yeah. And how do you get to the point where you start breathing through your mouth? What are the circumstances?
Okay, some of them, you know, nasal breathing is involuntary. We all start breathing, we all get out of the wombs breathing with our nose, okay? And at some point, some of us start mouth breathing. Some of it might be static, so fixed. You might have issues like allergies, you might have issues, adenoids, especially children. Adenoids are mounds of tissue at the back of the nose. You might have sinusitis, you might have polyps, you know. You might have a deviated nasal septum. The nasal septum is the middle bit of the nose, so it could be crooked.
And that's genetic?
Yeah, some people it's genetic, others, boxers, footballers, all sorts of things.
Happens in the trade?
Yes, and then you get others with inflammation of the nose. They have inflammatory diets, they have foreign bodies inside the nose, all sorts of things. So you get, those are some of the most common reasons why you stop becoming a nasal breather and becoming a mouth breather. But there are others who, remember when you're exerting yourself, you're in the gym, you're out in the sports, what you try and start thinking is that, hey, I need a quick gulp of air. So what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Open your mouth. What it does, yes, it does give you a quick, it's easy, there's no resistance. But remember what I've said, it doesn't do all the things that the nose does. And remember, the nose has exceptional neuronal structures. It has so many nerves that go into the brain, that go down into the lungs. So anything that affects the nose affects the lungs.
I see.
And asthmatics will tell you, if I have a flu, my chest gets worse. If my sinusitis flares up, my chest gets worse. So when you want to exert yourself, if you're in a period of stress, anxiety, even our words, when you say that you've been shocked, what we write? That your jaw dropped.
Yeah.
You know, so
literal expression, yes.
Yeah. No one says that you flare up your nose, your jaw drops. Okay. So you can get into a habitual, or you can become a habitual open mouth breather, courtesy of a lot of things.
I see.
And we'll talk about the consequences.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have unfiltered air coming into your mouth when you breathe through it, as opposed to your nose. And most of the time, it's just due to environment, things that you've learned along the way, so you've adapted to that.
Yeah.
So how does it look like in children? How do the effects look like in children versus adults?
Versus adults. Okay, so in children, because they are growing, so anything that goes wrong can become permanent. What happens? You open your mouth. The roof of your mouth, because how your mouth grows is that the tongue should contact the roof of your mouth. Yeah. If it doesn't, then the roof of your mouth starts what we call a high arched palate, where it becomes narrow. That means you get a narrow, you get a narrow upper jaw.
I see.
If you're breathing through your mouth, your chin drops, because your tongue now is at the bottom. So your chin drops, and it actually just moves a little bit forward as well. So you get an open mouth. Now, what is above your the roof of your mouth? You have your nose. You have your cartilage. Yeah. So that cartilage is static. If something is pushing it from the bottom, what happens? It buckles. So some patients actually get deviated nasal septums.
Like literally change the whole skeletal structure.
Yes. So you'll find
jaw.
that, we call it adenoid fasces. It's just the technical word to say. And then you find that your teeth sort of grow out. And then because you have a narrow mouth, there's not enough space. So you find also your teeth are looking for space. They have to grow. So some of them grow outwards. Some of them overlap inside, and then your wisdom teeth either erupt, they take long to erupt, or if they erupt, they have unequal growth. So you find a lot of people are having their wisdom teeth pulled out. You find a lot of children are getting braces very early, you know, to try and get everything in.
Yeah.
And then because you've gotten used to it as a child, then now it travels into adulthood. And remember, oxygen is the food of the brain. So you're getting nasty headaches, you're getting what we call myofascial pains. You're just getting pains, all sorts of...
Like different forms of pain on your face.
On your face. And we are doing all these tests, and you see at the bottom, conclusion, normal. But just your bone changes, your cheekbones changes, your jaw changes. And it's absolutely crazy because now we are creating an entire industry to sort out consequences of things that can be sorted out much earlier.
Exactly. And how does normal breathing look like?
Okay. So think about two things. There is the upper airway and the lower airway. Okay. So I've talked about the upper airway. Mouth closed, tongue at the roof of your mouth, and breathe through your nose. That's natural. We do it all the time. It's for people who don't do it, who understand what's happening. Now, when the air goes down into your lungs, there's something else that we do wrong. Most people, if I ask you to take a deep breath, they do something called vertical breathing rather than horizontal breathing or belly breathing.
Yeah.
So what's a vertical breath? If you ask somebody to draw the lungs are actually triangular in shape. So the narrowest part is at the top, and the widest part is near the lower half.
Yeah.
So what's a vertical breath? A vertical breath, if I tell you to take a breath, you'll breathe with your shoulders. Your body is constricting.
I don't know who told us to do that.
Yeah, I don't know who told us to do this.
Naturally,
Yeah,
just do.
because even I used to do it.
Yeah.
So you take a deep breath, you're told, breathe. So naturally your shoulders go up, your body is constrained, and you feel like nothing is moving down here.
Yeah.
That's wrong. We are oxygenating the top half of our lungs, which is the narrow bit. What we want to do is the bottom bit. And there's a powerful muscle called the diaphragm that separates all your abdominal, your stomach, all that stuff, and your chest cavity. So it's broad-based. You know, just think about a wide muscle.
Yeah.
And that powerful muscle is like a sieve.
Right.
So what it is, it's like an upside-down sieve. So when you breathe, that muscle should actually flatten out and push everything down and bring your lungs open. So when you do it, when you horizontally breathe or belly breathe, one way of doing it, you should see your stomach going out. And if you have children, you will actually see them doing that. When they breathe in and out, you see their stomach going in and out rather than their chest.
I see.
And I'll show you how to do it.
Please just show us right now.
Yes.
I don't even think we need to go into later on.
So how you can practically know if you're breathing, if you're belly breathing. Put one hand on your chest, another one on your stomach, and breathe in and out. Your hand on your chest should not be moving, but your hand on your abdomen should be moving. It should be moving out and in.
Okay.
Out and in. And I can tell you that even the clothes we wear, the corsets, all the tight jackets we wear don't allow this. I can tell you that one of the biggest pushbacks I get is, Doc, I want a flat tummy, I want abs. But this doesn't prevent that. Remember, it's your diaphragm that is moving down. Air is not getting into your stomach, it's getting into your lungs. And that's super important.
Wait, so there's a perception that breathing in, like breathing through your belly, right, rather,
yes,
would not give you a flat
tummy. Exactly, but it doesn't. Of course, even though it's because of, part of the problem is what we name it. We call it belly breathing. So you'd think that air is going into your stomach and your tummy wouldn't be flat, but no. It's just that air is going further down into your lungs. I'm oxygenating the part that matters. And oxygen is life.
But isn't it now better because you're oxygenating your tummy? Then that would actually aid in you having?
No, air doesn't get into your stomach. It goes into the lower part of your lungs.
Which is now what you said diaphragm.
So
from here.
The lungs are above the diaphragm.
Yeah.
Your stomach is below the diaphragm.
Yes.
So when your diaphragm goes down, it pushes the lungs downwards and pushes the air into the open parts of the lungs. So that's fantastic. Another thing we don't think about, we think about oxygen, but we forget that when we breathe out carbon dioxide. And our brain treats those two things very differently. And they're both very important.
I see.
It's fascinating.
You know, there are also very many trends happening. And if you see some of our young people these days, there's just a way you just move around with your mouth open, you know. It's a thing. I've seen, I think you've seen it also in celebrities, some celebrities who just walk around with that. And then, like you've mentioned, it causes permanent damages to your, you know,
your jaw structure,
and everything.
Yes, and your face,
so how do the long-term effects of that look like when you have now the severe aspects of that?
Okay, so number one, remember I've said we concentrate a lot on oxygen, which is correct, but we forget carbon dioxide, which is super important. What if you have a buildup of carbon dioxide because you're not breathing well? You change your body's pH. It becomes a bit more acid. If you're breathing shallow, if you're taking shallow breaths, you're taking rapid breaths, you're not taking enough deep breaths, you have a buildup of carbon dioxide. What does that give you? It gives you headaches. It gives you stress, fatigue, bad breath. We see a lot of patients coming in and saying, "Doc, I have bad breath." But it's because you're breathing through your mouth. Breathing through your mouth changes what we call the oral bacteria.
Because everything that's coming in is not filtered.
It's not filtered.
So it just goes all
It's not
the
filtered.
way.
So what is the first line of defense? Your first line of defense is your nose. Now, if your first line of defense becomes your mouth, then the mouth has to protect itself, changes the bacteria. Part of the byproducts of changed oral bacteria is bad breath. You know, you get halitosis. Now, a fascinating thing.
Oh my goodness, halitosis.
Yeah, and let me tell you something.
One would not even.
Yeah, who would know that I just need to change from being an open mouth breather to a functional nasal breather? Can I tell you something else? There's a molecule called nitric oxide. Now, when we breathe, one of the functions of the sinuses, you know, we have sinuses below your eyes, above your eyes, and between your eyes, and behind your eyes, and they open up into your nose. So when you breathe in, nitric oxide is actually released into the body. So every time you breathe in, a little bit of nitric oxide. What does this nitric oxide do? It does two fundamental things. Number one, it's diffused into the lungs, and what that does is that it opens up blood vessels, vasodilation. It opens up the lungs, bronchodilation. So you actually get more breath when you breathe through your nose because nitric oxide has been produced. Then nitric oxide is super important for defense. What sort of defense? It inactivates viruses. It has antimicrobial properties. It supercharges the mucus, you know? And this is something that we get. So you have a natural defense mechanism when you breathe in through your nose. And that's why you see actually open mouth breathers have a bit of a higher pressure than functional nasal breathers. And that's one thing that we don't ask. If your mom or dad has hypertension, ask them, are you open mouth breathing or are you nasal breathing?
That is so interesting.
It's so crazy. There are things that we can do.
And it's all correlated to just that simple thing, aspect of breathing.
We breathe about 12 to 16 times per minute, but we need to slow down our breathing, make it deeper, make it more quality, so that we can do the right things. Breathe through your nose, get enough oxygen, and exhale your carbon dioxide, because retention of carbon dioxide is a big, big issue.
Right.
And we'll see it. You might be within the lower sides. If you do your blood pH levels, you see that it's a bit more acid. And our body is so intricate that just a small change, our acid levels are between 7.35 and 7.45. That's a 0.1 difference. So anything that changes it, anything that changes it matters a lot. So you can imagine you've been wearing a corset for 10 years. You can imagine you've been holding your breath. You've been constricting your tummy so that you can be flat tummy for 10 years. 10 years of destabilized pH level.
And diaphragm?
Does a lot.
Like,
and your diaphragm, you're not belly breathing. No,
like
it still moves. Your diaphragm will move, but then it's not doing as much because it's a muscle and muscles work. You're using your shoulder muscles. So you're getting neck pain, you're getting shoulder pain. You're using what is called intercostal. So between your ribs, you know, between your ribs is the muscles.
Yeah.
So you're using those muscles. So you're getting chest pains, you're getting back pains because your ribs are connected to your back, you know? And it can change.
You know,
so that's my work as an ENT surgeon.
I think I just had to, a moment there because I don't think we understand how all these things affect what we do, because some of them are fashion trends. Some of them are just, trends that we found out to be cool, quote unquote.
Cool, yes.
You don't understand that maybe pressure, like you mentioned, comes from just not taking in proper air and having an acidic body.
Yeah.
So having an acidic body at the end of the day, does that also affect your outside? Because you see, some people say I have static, like you touch them, so I've seen some people joke and say it's because of how I'm feeling inside, it's coming outside. Is that anyway factually true or just a fad?
No, that's not factually true, but you can feel it because it does change your energy, and some people are more attuned to energy. So I may not be able to tell your energy levels, but there's some people who can. They're more attuned, We even say it's damu yetu hazipatani, hazichanganyiki. There's somebody who can tell, And so my work as an ENT surgeon sometimes is now to sort out some of these things. And there are many ways that we can do that.
Okay. Right, just hold on to that thought. We're taking a short break. We'll be back with more of these conversations. Stay with us.
Asante.